Welcome, you guys, to another one of my chats. My name is Keish, and oh, here we go. I think this should be better. My name is Keish, and this channel is literally strictly for us to just share real open thoughts. A lot of the things that I learn, I want to capture on camera. I want to capture, I want to share, I want to pour into anyone who wants to listen. So today I'm going to be talking about how to be amongst the greats. Now, the way I've learned to be amongst the greats, I want to give this information to you. So because you might be under a great person and viewing them in you're not viewing them through the right scope, right? Sometimes they say proximity makes people become complacent, or it's hard to see the greatness in them, right? And we know this is true, right? The closer somebody gets to somebody in authority or power, then the less that they see them as great. And that is because they can see up close, they can see their flaws, they can see the times that they're frustrated when they're hungry, they can see the times where they may not execute everything with perfection. But the truth is, we're all humans, right? And so, like I said, today I want to show you, I want to talk about how to be amongst the greats, because you're probably around somebody great that really can shape your life for the rest of your life, but you might not be looking at it exactly the way that you should look at it. And so I'm going to go over 4 points with you guys, and take this and go be great, because this information is for you to be able to sit amongst the greats and then become great yourself. And so I want to start with this, right? For many jobs that I worked throughout my life, there's a culture in the workforce to talk about the boss, to talk about how the boss is not this, the boss is not that, what they don't have. And that's anywhere. That's at jobs, that's a community, organizations, any place that we go, the leader usually catches flack. But what people don't know is that whether this leader has or embodies everything that you want, or just a couple of things that you want, this leader is in a leadership position, which means that they have leadership skills. And so we have to learn how to be amongst the greats. Okay. So maybe I'll tell some stories. I don't know. I'm just gonna free flow this. But let's talk about the first thing that you need to understand when being amongst the greats, that they have skills that you can learn. Whether you're at a job where you hate the boss, or everybody hates the boss, because you wouldn't hate the boss because you're around the greats now. Or whether you are around at a job where you find that your boss might be hard on you, or hard on others around, they have some leadership skills. And so the first thing that I encourage you to do is to lean in, to see past all the things that you may not like about them, and see what is it that is learnable, what is it that you can like, right? um Whether, and like I said, you guys, I'm trying to not go into too much detail, but been in many places, right? I've been places where they're like, let's give an example. People like, oh, this boss is unorganized, right? And yes, the boss might have a structure that is unorganized, and it feels like it's kind of loose, right? And everyone does what they do. But one thing that I've learned under that kind of leader is the ability to be in tune with my leader, meaning to know that even though the boss might be unorganized, that there will be times where they know how to request things, or they may request things. And so I learned in these situations, yeah, in that situation, I learned how to be attentive to what is important and what is not, right? So learning that, right? When to hear information as just kind of common knowledge, and when to understand when a due date is happening, or how to effectively communicate those kind of things. And so, yes, your boss might be unorganized, but your boss also might be good at getting things done. They may not always call you, but when they call you, getting it done with an effectiveness and a completion. Um, I've had The second thing is to be quiet and take notes. A lot of times, this is a good one right here. Be quiet and take notes when you're around the greats. A lot of times people get around the greats and they want to talk about how great they are. But that's the worst thing that you can do in these moments. When you're around somebody great, when you're around someone who has accomplished more than you, the worst thing you can do is start to try to align your accomplishments, or try to brag on yourself about these accomplishments. I've learned quickly that when you get in a room with these people, to be quiet and take notes, right? learn what they're doing. Recently, I started a position, and my boss is amazing. And I've been blessed to have the last four bosses now, including this one, that have been amazing, amazing, amazing. And I've learned different things from each and every one of them. But I learned that I come into that room with humility, right? When you're around greats, the best thing you can do is be humble. Don't ask any questions and be quick to serve. And so by me sitting under this boss, I've learned even the power of leadership. How do you structure leadership. Watching her come into the company, what I noticed was that in the past, in different environments that I've been in, sometimes the boss may not be a structured boss. They may not have that structure, but this boss taught me how to have structure. When you come in, when she started our whole company, or when she started as a leader of our company, the first thing she did was go over the handbook, go over the protocol, go over the structure, the expectations. So I had to learn how to be quiet. So for the first week or two, we sat with this amazing leader, and she literally went through the handbook, and she just taught us what the expectation was. And I learned, you might be like, that's nothing, right? People may be annoyed, like, why are we feeling like we back in school, going through the handbook, underlining things and asking questions? But it was essential, because how many times have you started a job and they give you the handbook, you never read the handbook unless you had a problem, but for the most part you jump right into the job. So I learned, even by being amongst the greats, it's not the big things that they do, it's not the money they flash, it's the subtle things they do, like that, like how to learn how to set structure, how to learn how to communicate difficult topics. And so that's what I mean when you're sitting amongst the greats, to be quiet, to take notes, to pay attention to the subtle things. I have another leader that I follow at a church. I've actually moved to a new state due to her, just so I could be in closer proximity to her, to see and to learn. It's like making these people your mentor in your mind. People say all the time, I want a mentor, but you don't have to have a physical mentor. Your mentor can be somebody that you're watching from afar, but you learn so much about. Well, with this mentor, I learned many things, but a couple of things that I learned was how to, she's in ministry, right? But she honors her husband before she steps up. And so, how does a woman be a leader in ministry? By keeping her husband first. Her name may go further or bigger because of the kind of work she does, right? Meaning she travels around the world, she writes different books, she owns different companies, and her husband does too. But she's more of out there in the community because that's her mission, her life mission. But one thing I've learned from her leadership is that you always honor your husband. You always honor your leader, and you put them in the front. Another thing that I notice is when she steps on the platform, many times when she goes places, everybody just claps her up. They're like, woo! They love her, right? And before she gets full of herself, she always brings herself down to humility and says, glory to God, and gives glory to God and say, can we give God a hand clap? She takes the accolades off herself and puts it on other people, because that's what it means to be amongst greatness. Even the greats don't want the credit. Um, Pay your respect. That's the next one, number 3. When you're amongst greatness, pay your respect. These people have done great things before you. They have paved the way. So a lot of times people can, especially when you're a younger generation, come into a place and you want to say, well, we do it like this, and in the new school does it like this generation does it like that. That is the worst thing you can do. When you're amongst greats, you pay respect. It's the same thing. I mean, people get it more so in the music industry, what they did before, but this is a thing that happens all around the world. For example, we know many artists today, right? And when you ask them who was their influence, many of them will say Michael Jackson, right? They pay their respect. But the further we get away from the Michael Jacksons, people wouldn't say like, oh, Boosie was my influence or Chris Brown was my influence. But that's essential. It doesn't matter who you are, where you are. You pay respects to the greats when you come in, okay? And the fourth thing I say is to apply what you learn. The way you become a great is that you get amongst greats and you learn things from the greats, and you never will be a replica of the greats. But what you do is you learn this from that great, you learn this from this great, you learn that from this great, and then you become great. So yes, learn from their leadership. Then no leader is perfect. They all have imperfections. Accept that, embrace that. You do too. Be quiet and take notes when those leaders are talking. You don't need to prove yourself. Humble yourself. Be quiet. Be a servant. There was a time where one of my leaders, they hired me. I was working with a great, and as I was working with her, I would wake up every morning and she would have these events, but I would make it my business to go to her event and set up for her. I will humble myself because I was so thankful that she would let me sit under her as a great. That I will wake up in the morning, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, get dressed, travel 25, 30 minutes to another town, and I will have all her materials. I will come in the morning and I will set up those things for her because that's what it means to be amongst the greats, is to serve and to pay your respect. And then the fourth thing, like I said, was apply what you learn. Don't sit under these greats and not apply it. The thing is for you to learn from these greats so you can become great, so then you can pour into other people, and that's how you get the generational greatness. So I hope this video helps somebody. I know it will. I'm going to be doing more content, and it's going to be just these kind of diaries. Even if this video only goes to my grandchildren 10 years from now, they're going to know how to sit amongst the greats. So I love you guys. Thank you for watching this video, and I'm out. Peace.